Ryan Couture with us here today. Bellator 180 coming up here on this massive card that's going on with these guys. Obviously, it's Mitrione and Fedor is the main event with Chael Sonnen and Vanderlei Silva on there as well. I'm a little surprised with this matchup. I got to assume that you are too for you. Haim Gozail, we actually met him when I went. Well, I met him when I went over and fought in Israel years ago. Mm-hmm. He begged for a long time to get on. I got him connected with Sam, who's our mutual manager, and they gave you this matchup. Weren't you surprised by this matchup?
I was a little bit. I wasn't familiar with Haim at all, but I know Sam was kind of, I think, a little taken aback when they offered it. But really, what it boiled down to for me was I wanted on that card. The chance to fight in the Garden was too good to pass up. So jumping up in weight and fighting someone who's sort of a friend of a friend was worth it to me. And I'm excited for the matchup and looking forward to just a crazy event.
Yeah, Follis has got to get his teeth behind this as well, because Haim's a pretty well, highly decorated, at least in Israel. Now, obviously it's a smaller country, so I'm not sure how good the grappling is, but he's a Renzo Gracie brown belt, or is he a black belt already?
I think he might be a black belt. Okay. I've been functioning under that assumption anyway. So
yes,
it's going to be a little different fight tactically for me. Usually I'm the one trying to make it a grappling match. This time I need to make it a fist fight.
Yeah.
But that's been fun, making those adjustments in training. And actually, Follis has Kevin Lee fighting the very next day, and he had already committed to that before we got the matchup. So he's actually going to be with Kevin at his fight. So I'm going to have my dad and Eric Nixick are going to be working my corner, and I feel like the two of them have put in a lot of good work with me, and I'm feeling ready to go.
Well, yeah, but Follis not being in your corner, he's still in your camp, though. He's still helping you train for
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Definitely.
So he leaves, 5 days before. So basically, he leaves a day before you guys do. So you're going to have him for the whole camp minus the last weight cut, essentially.
Yeah. Okay. We've been getting lots of good drilling sessions in. He's been giving great feedback on sparring rounds, and is always a big presence in the gym and in my camp in particular.
Now, you may not be able to share with us because of how your contract goes, but I was talking to Ryan Bader, who fights on this card as well. He was very adamant about being on the TV portion because in Bellator, there is no pay-per-view numbers bonus for anybody that he, as of right now, because it's the first pay-per-view. So he wanted to be on the television portion, knowing there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on it, knowing that a lot of people are going to use it as the build-up to get ready for the pay-per-view. Is there any, you might even know, is there any television clause in your contract if a certain number gets hit as far as viewership that you get a bonus for that viewership?
I don't believe I have any kind of perks like that.
Okay.
And I'm actually on the online stream prelims, so I didn't even make the cut for TV this go round. But that makes sense for Bader. I can see why he'd think that pay-per-view is such a new game for Bellator. There's no telling what to expect as far as the turnout. As great of a lineup of fights as it is, and as much as if I was at home, I'd be buying it. But it's hard to say. We don't really know if anybody other than the UFC can sell a pay-per-view yet. It's going to be an interesting test of the waters for them.
So I'm very dedicated to watching all the online fights and all of the Spike TV fights. When it comes to Bellator, I watch everything top to bottom, but I do the same thing with the UFC. I'm just so used to getting Bellator for free that I'm really overanalyzing the pay-per-view portion of the card because I'm like, do I really want to put more money out this month? Because there's so many other fights that are coming on right now. And I've got to save up for that astronomical, whatever they're going to charge us for Mayweather McGregor. I got to save money for that too. Like, and now do I really want to see, do I really think that Fedor's going to give Mitrione a good match? Do I really think that Silva's going to give Chael a really good match? Do I really care about these other fights? And it's a difficult task for me. You being on the card, like you said, you're on the online portion, but you did state that you would buy the pay-per-view if you were home. Did you have to really think about, hey, I would buy this pay-per-view if I was home, or you just automatically, it's a fight and I got to pay for it and I'm going to watch it?
I think that the Fedor fight and the Chael and Vanderlei matchup is those are fun, but for me the meat and potatoes of the card is Chandler and Primus and Lima and Larkin. Those are two great fights, and then I'm super curious to see what Pico brings to the cage, and he's got so much hype behind him, and such a highly touted prospect that I'm dying to see what he really looks like in action.
I want to see if you agree with Michael Chandler. So I talked to Mike, and I was like, hey, look, Pico's never fought before. He's 0-0 in MMA, and he's on the main event of a pay-per-view card. That's a pretty significant jump for someone that's never competed, but has a few junior accolades. Never wrestled in college. And Chandler was saying he's proven that he has gone through the line, has gone through the hardship of wrestling because he wrestled in college, and that's a grinding kind of beat you up kind of style. Even though Pico has gotten a thing, but he was also saying, love Aaron, love his attitude, love how he's doing. But Bellator is putting a lot of numbers behind him, hoping that he will be the prospect that Zinkin and DC and everybody else up at AKA all believe that he will be. Were you kind of surprised that he's the first fight on the pay-per-view card, having no fights at all in mixed martial arts?
It's a bit of a gamble, I think, for Bellator to take, to put that many eggs in that basket, but they've already sunk, I think, quite a bit of money into developing him as a prospect, so it makes sense. They got to go all in on him. They've already committed to it, so you might as well get the maximum exposure on that debut that they can and make the most of it. But yeah, I have those same kinds of questions about him. I mean, it's a much different thing, even as high a level as he wrestled at and as talented an athlete as he is. It's a much different thing to be under the bright lights in Madison Square Garden on pay-per-view on such a huge event. Like that's a lot of pressure to put on someone so young, but it'll be interesting to see how he rises to it. And hearing some of the stories of him as a junior, like a high school kid, beating world-class level wrestlers and competing at that level, I get the impression from some of the stories I've heard about him that it shouldn't faze him much. I mean, if he's fought, or competed at those kind of odds and gone out and performed, then it sounds to me like he may be one of those just special people who's not affected by that sort of thing.
When I interviewed Bader and I interviewed Chandler, obviously for the same card that you're on, I was kind of like, I was really taken aback that they would make him the first fight of the night. And I was really kind of downplaying him, as like he shouldn't be on there like this whole bit. And what I realized later, after the interviews were over, is that it's because I don't want to see him fail this early in the game. I want him to have a real significant chance of being able to be hugely successful. I don't want to see another wrestler have a flash in the pan like we did with some other wrestlers that have come out, the great Olympians and great athletes that come out in MMA and completely failed. And it's just been like, wow, like we pushed him too early, too hard. I don't want Pico to be that next guy that we push too hard, too early. If you were in his camp and you had his ear and you were able to tell him from being in the big shows and being in underneath the big hot lights and coming from, obviously with your last name, you had a lot more pressure than most people did. Coming in being, it's Randy's son. It's you had to find your own way to be, look, I'm fucking Ryan Couture. Like, I have my own path. Dad took his path. I have my own path. Leave me alone. Like, it took years for you to get to that point. What would you tell Pico going, hey, look, it's Madison Square Garden. It's the big bright lights, the first big show. It's your first fight. What would you tell him if you had his ear and, a couple weeks out from the fight?
I think the best thing you can do at this point is just cut loose and have fun. I mean, you may as well enjoy it. He's in it. It's going to happen regardless. There's no sense worrying about all that shit. It is a lot of pressure, and he could go out and win this fight, and if he doesn't impress enough, people are going to have something to say about it. So he's just got to disregard all that, go in there and do his thing and have fun and learn from the experience, and there's really nothing else he can do.
It's almost the worst thing for him to have happen is for it to go to decision. It's like, and him win it, because then everyone's going to be like, oh, he's not that good, blah, blah. But if he loses very early, very quickly, he wasn't ready. It's very easy to write off. If he wins very early, very quickly, like, oh my gosh, he's exactly what everybody said he's going to be. If he wins a decision, it's like the worst thing, which is I can't believe I'm actually saying that. The worst thing for somebody to happen to them is for them to win by decision. It's like that's when everyone's going to come out of the woodwork.
From a PR perspective, but I think as far as the experience goes, that might be the best thing too. I mean, it's such a goofy industry and such a fickle set of fans that you can't really please everybody. So as long as he has a good time and he takes some positives from the experience and learns from it, that's what's most important.
How are you able to stay so upbeat in this crazy ass sport that you're in? Because you've gone through some tough times, some super tough times in the sport, and been like, oh yeah, I'm all right. I'm just going to take my time and heal up and come back better. And okay, that didn't work. It's okay. I'll figure it out. And you never get down, at least perception wise, you never get down on yourself. You never seem to be like, screw you. I'm going to get you back for that controversial loss. You're just kind of always super happy, super excited to be in the process. How do you keep that up?
I mean, I got to turn my hobby into my career for the last almost decade, so it's hard to complain about too much. But I think I'm just kind of wired that way. I think I'm optimistic almost to a fault, and I get down sometimes. 2016 was a really frustrating year, and I'm looking forward to moving past it. But there's no sense in wallowing in it, and nothing good comes from that. So just trying to stay upbeat and move on to the next challenge and keep improving and keep moving forward is all I know how to do.
How's your beautiful wife handling all this? She hates to fly. She hates it when you fight, but she always seems to be the biggest supporter in your corner. She always seems, whenever you need it, she seems to be right there giving you, even though she's having a full panic attack. She's like, nope, Ryan needs it right now. I'm good. So how is she really handling all this?
Yeah, she's doing okay. She's got a lot of stressful things going on in her life right now. Her sister's getting ready to move to Florida and take our baby niece with her, so she's struggling with that. And so the world's kind of always on her shoulders, but she always comes through for me and is such a great support and helps me through these fight weeks, as much as she hates almost everything about it. I know she is very much looking forward to New York, though. She loves the city, and we're going to stay for a few days after the show and do some tourist things. So I think that kind of helps her get through it, too.
So I know for sure, just because of who you are, you're definitely going to go to the 9/11 Memorial. You're going to do that for sure. What other things are you going to do while you're in New York City?
I just want to eat. I'm excited for food. I want to go. I'm sure we'll have pizza. I want to eat a chopped cheese sandwich. I want to go to Criff Dogs. I want to just experience the city. Like, we'll see. I'm sure plenty of the typical tourist stuff, but just kind of getting a feel for what New York City is all about is what I'm most looking forward to. I don't have any real set list of things I got to go do. I'm just looking forward to the experience.
Are you guys going to bounce by Disney World the way home? Or are you going to wait till you get all the way back to Disneyland?
Yeah, we'll wait till we get back to the West Coast.
For those of you who don't know at home, Ryan and Emily are huge Disney fans. And it's like, after a fight, if you want to meet up with them, you can probably catch them at Disneyland pretty much any weekend that Em's got available. And Ryan,
I like the corn dogs and the beer carts over at California Adventure. Emily's really into the Disney stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what's you win this fight? It goes your way. I know you don't like making predictions. You just want to go out there and perform. What is this going to do for you? Because now you've gotten past 2016. You're got yourself set up pretty nicely in 2017. Are you looking to fight 2 more times this year? 1 more time this year? Looking to call it a wrap at halfway through the year? Like, what do you want to do?
2 more fights would be fantastic. If I can get through this one, get my hand raised, and not get too banged up. I want to get back to my weight class and get back on that ladder and start climbing. I know I fell a lot of rungs down towards the bottom of the heap after the way last year went, but I want to get back in the mix and start making my case again for getting into that title picture. So got to stay busy and just want to keep working and keep improving.
Besides the adjustments you had to make for this particular opponent, was there anything else that you tweaked in your camp, your food prep, your strength and conditioning, anything like that?
No, nothing crazy. The biggest, I think, lesson I took away from those last 2 fights is a little bit more discipline and patience. I think in both those fights, if I could have tapped the brakes a little and been a little more conservative in my approach, I might have at least not got caught when I did, not been in a rush to get finished off. So I think that's the big lesson or the big rub from those two losses that I've been trying to incorporate into this camp and that I think is going to be key in this fight. Not being in a hurry to dive into the clinch like I usually do, and not being in a hurry to get to the ground and test the black belt on the floor. I need to be a little more conservative in my approach and be a little more disciplined and make sure things are happening on my terms. And that's I think going to be the challenge for me. I tend to just want to hit the gas and go, and so knowing when to let off a little and focus a little more on controlling the pace and a little less on being eager to get after and get my hands on him.
Who's been your main training partner to mimic his style for this particular fight?
The first good chunk of the camp, I got a lot of good rounds in with Danny Davis, who's got a similar build. He's a great grappler and I think a much better striker than Haim. So getting used to that body type and that size difference was huge. Then he got a short notice fight, so he had to focus on his own training and I've just been kind of making the rounds through. We got tons of good welterweights and solid lightweights that have been able to give me a good look and simulate what I need them to do and push me. And I think conditioning is going to be a huge issue in this fight. Giving up a little size, I got to be in good shape and be ready to deal with that extra exertion for 15 minutes. So that's been more of the focus than trying to imitate exactly what he does, because we don't have a lot of guys who want to pull guard and fish for arm bars and play that submission game here. So we've done our best to simulate what we can, but the biggest thing is just being in shape and then focusing on my discipline.
What's your weight like right now?
Waking up like I think 76 this morning, so should be easy. It'll be nice not to be stressed and dieting so heavy during fight week and not have to come in all dehydrated. I think I'll have a little extra pep in my step come fight night.
Well, there is this whole thing going on in California right now where they're changing how the weight goes. If you gain too much weight, and it's about to become, obviously commission wide, that if you gain too much weight, you have to move up to the next weight class. You said you want to go back down to 55 because you feel like you're better down at 55. But is there any shot of you staying up at 70? If this fight goes really well and you don't feel undersized or overwhelmed, might you stay up at 70?
I don't know. I think I still give up a lot of horsepower at 70. There's so many big wrestlers and big power punchers up there that I don't know that that'd be a great fit for me. I'm interested to see with California adding some weight classes and adjusting some of those rules where I'll shake out if maybe I end up a 65 pounder,
Yeah. So
I think California adopts it. They're one of the biggest ones. Eventually, that's the sport's ahead, and I think it'll shake a lot of things up. So seeing where guys start to land, some of these massive lightweights that we have right now that are just beasts, and some of them are definitely you can count on going to be going up, and see what the landscape looks like after that all starts to kind of settle in will be very interesting.
Like I kind of figured out right now if my I sat down with Andy Foster and actually talked about it after he made the announcement. It was like if the rules were in place when I was competing, I'd have to be 85. There's no way that I could go 170 and maintain, because I cut so much weight and put so much weight on. I was way over the limit. There's just no way. Like I would have to cut again that morning to keep my weight down to be under the limit to be able to compete. And it's just like now I'm not fighting.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. I'm super interested to see how is this all going to pan out. Is it really going to affect the weights the way that everybody does, or is it really just going to be it's an inconvenience and guys just have to get better on their diets in between fights and going to get better in the beginning of their training camp instead of waiting to the end of their training camp to cut their weight.
Yeah, I think for me that's exactly the adjustment I'll have to make is to start staying a little cleaner on the diet year round and not walking around as heavy to begin with and dropping as much water weight and just, I could definitely be leaner year round and come into the fight and make weight easy. I've had fights where I came in under 155 without cutting that much water and it just came down to diet and preparation and it wouldn't be that hard for me to adjust.
Okay. All right. Thanks, man. I really appreciate you coming on here. I know you got some stuff you got to do with them before it gets too late tonight. So I appreciate it right after getting trained, getting showered, and getting right on here with us. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Good luck, man. And I wish I could tell you for sure that I'd be in Madison Square Garden, but for me, it's still up in the air. I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going to happen. I got to go to Mexico for Fear the Walking Dead right before. I don't know if I'm going to get done in time to get to Madison Square Garden in time. And of course, I can't come without Jill. So now it's a whole process. Like it's a whole thing. So.
Well, good luck with that. Hopefully, we'll see you there. But
be good. Yeah.
Always good talking to you.
You too, man. Take care. Have a great rest of your camp, and we'll talk later on.
Sounds good.